there's a couple of you that are like, you're back? I'm kidding. But hey, I've been gone. If you're new at Prairie Heights, me and my family, we've been on a month-long reset. And so the last time that I was here on this stage was Christmas, which is crazy. But we're back and we're so grateful. I'm so grateful. My husband Kyle is so grateful. Our kids can't quite articulate it probably this way, but they are so grateful for the space and the time that we had together as a family. And so I just want to take a moment and I just want to say thank you so much to our Prairie Heights board and leadership. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your guidance. Thank you. Just so much thank you there. And then I just also want to give it up to our incredible staff and say thank you to our incredible staff here at Prairie Heights. Who work tirelessly to continue to love people, serve people, and their roles and their callings is all about serving people and serving you and reaching more people for Jesus. And so a huge thank you. I know that everything went just fine without me. And that is such a huge gift to be surrounded by such great and talented people. And then lastly, I want to thank you. And even if today is your very first time at Prairie Heights, I want to thank you for showing up. I want to thank you for showing up today. I want to thank you for showing up week in and week out and investing in your journey with God. Whether you have yet to make Jesus the leader of your life or not, something is drawing you in to be here. And so I want to say thank you for continuing to show up. Thank you to the hundreds of people who volunteer consistently with our kids and behind the scenes, cleaning up messes and greeting outside when it's like, I was in Arizona and I heard here it was like negative 40, 50? Sorry, I missed it. So thank you to, I'm so mean, aren't I? And just thank you for those that trust God with their finances and give and invest in our church so that we can continue to reach more people. It really matters and we need all of us. And so, as you can tell, truly, I'm so grateful and so thankful. The last couple weeks, you've had a chance to hear from Matthew Brown, our teaching pastor who lives in Atlanta. And he weathered a few storms. Like literally and figuratively. He got stuck here a couple times for a little extra day or two. And also he got sick. And so I just am so thankful for him, for our team where he stayed in people's houses and we're building such a great connection with him. But also what he had to share with us. His messages have been so rich and so helpful. And I've been challenged. I went back and watched each of them and am so challenged by what he brought to each of us. Well, he started our series X's and O's, talking about plays for stronger relationships in our life. And one of the things that he said this, the relational reality, and he's talking about our church family, the relational reality of the person next to you is part of your story too. And as you hear that, you might think because here's the truth, there are some people here, handfuls of people who you have a relationship here at Prairie Heights and you're connected in a group or you're volunteering together or you know each other outside of here and then you come to church together. But there are hundreds of you that have yet to experience what community can really feel like within your church family. And here's what Matthew Brown wanted to remind all of us, and I want to remind you too, your story, I'm pointing at you, impacts her story, you right up there. And you two likely don't know each other. Now, if you do, Jesus is on my side today. But here's what that means is that, guess what? As part of God's family, as part of this church family, we have an opportunity to impact one another's stories in ways that we couldn't otherwise because we are part of a church family. And so thank you for being part of this church family right here at Prairie Heights. Today we're going to run some X's and O's on friendships. We're going to gain some perspective on friendships. We're going to talk about how hard it is to make friends and kind of the reality of our life and why we need friends. And so I wore blue today to celebrate the Super Bowl because I do not care who wins. I care what kind of food I'm going to have and the friends that I'm going to hang out with later. So that's where I stand. But every great team has great friendships in it. Let's talk about some football friends. We've got Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. Look at those two. They couldn't be happier. They've had years of friendship. And we know that Patrick Mahomes, he is recovering from an ACL injury. You know, we don't know if Travis Kelce's coming back. It's the big news. He's kind of getting married to somebody that's kind of important in this culture. And they're both seem to be pretty great people and whatever. I don't know. I'm not making any statements whether I like them or I don't. I'm going to stop talking about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Okay. But Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, they're good friends. Why do you think they're good friends? Probably because they've been through some battles together. You know? They've been through some battles. That's as far as I'm going to go with football. Okay, the next one is Tom Brady. Tom Brady and Gronk. Now, please look at this picture closely. This is the only place that two grown men can do this, and it's appropriate and celebrated. Am I right? I am right. But you know what? It makes me think, I think we need some more of this in our life. I think you and I need some more friends that are like this. It's like when you show up to work and one of your friends meets you at the door and they like, whoa, like jump on your back and they're like, hey, I'll give you a ride to your office. You know, don't we need that? I think we need that. I think we need some more friends that are like that. Every great team story reminds us of this truth. Friends, no one wins alone. No one wins alone. No one wins alone. During my reset, I was able to spend some time with my college basketball teammate, and she was also a roommate for a year. She has become my best friend. We are personality-wise way different, and it is shocking that 20 years later we are still friends. Do you want to know why it's shocking? It's because the year we lived together, I did not do one dish. Didn't clean one dish. Why she's still my friend, we are unsure. We are very unsure, but she showed up at my wedding as our maid of honor with a basket full of cleaning supplies and said to my husband, Kyle, here you go, you're gonna need this. So we have weathered the valleys of our differences, and we have maintained and grown our friendship over the years. Well, we spent a couple days together, and I'm telling you, we haven't spent 2 days together in years. And I showed up at her dinner table with her 4 wonderful kids, and it was like I come to dinner every night. And I have not spent, one of her kids is about 4 years old, and I've maybe seen him once. And it just felt like family. We spent time laughing together and having fun shopping together, and we were honest and we were real and we were raw with one another, and it was so life-giving. What I think happened in our friendship is this team bond happened. And then beyond the team experience, we continued to work at our friendship. But when you're on teams with one another, specifically I'll talk an athletic team, if you've ever been but this translates to school projects. Some of you are like, I hate school group projects. Don't clap if you're one of those that hates those. But it's like school group projects, team projects at work, it translates. Like what happens when you're on a team is you have to face a lot of adversity. You know, you lose games that you should have won. Your teammate makes a bad choice and they show up late for practice, so they have to sit in a chair and watch all of you run because they showed up late. I was real upset the day my teammate did that, and I let her have it after practice. I was like, if you need me to pick you up, you're never going to be late again. But you face adversity, and that bonds you together. You also celebrate with each other. You win games you should have lost. And I remember a time in college where we went to one of our away games, and they have an indoor pool at their college, and we won the game, and we should not have won the game. You bet, fully clothed in our jerseys, we all jumped in the pool. I think some of us took our shoes off, but not all of us, and we're like, we won! Our coach didn't jump in, but he should have. But that's true about life too. It's so true about life too, friends. It's filled with ups and downs. It's filled with things to celebrate. It is filled with things that are disappointing. Our life has all these moments that we should be dancing around and all these moments where we're crying and we're upset and we're frustrated. See, there is a lot of our life that is completely out of our control. And what I want to talk about today, it's like right there in the middle of that tension. Like right there in the middle of the tension of like the reality of life and all that comes with it, and our need for control. It's in the middle of that tension where we can find our way into what I'll call like this accidental isolation. I don't think any of us wakes up in the morning and says like, God, I hope I get to do life alone today. Like, God, I hope I go to work and nobody notices me. And nobody talks to me. God, I hope I show up to the grocery store and everybody looks away from me. I hope everyone else is on their phones and they're not paying attention to me at all. I hope when I come home that even if there's people there, that they completely ignore me. And that I can just go about my business and then I can go to bed. I don't have to talk to them. I don't have to engage with them. I don't think any of us wake up saying like, I just hope that I can be isolated today. I hope I can be alone today. And I don't mean the healthy rhythms of an introvert where you do need alone time and that's so healthy and we need time with Jesus and all of that. I'm talking about in our everyday life. I'm talking about a life disconnected from really fruitful and connected relationships. And here's the thing, I can go through a list of stats and studies, and I'm going to talk about a few about the loneliness pandemic that we know exists, and it's getting worse all the time as we're facing ever-increasing advances in technology. And I'm going to talk a little AI. I'm not against AI. AI helps me cook better meals. Just saying. If you suck at cooking, AI is your best friend. You just say, I have all these ingredients, what can I make? And it'll tell you. There you go, not in the sermon. Okay, so AI. I heard a story that an individual spent time with AI so much that they created like a partner or a spouse and got married to, AI generated spouse basically, which there might be an article about it, which also could be true or untrue or AI generated all itself. But I'm just saying, more and more people are seeking mental health help from AI, which as a former therapist terrifies me. Terrifies me because AI is not a person. It's not there's no feelings. I can tell you all these stats, and I'm going to talk about Gen Z, currently the people ages 14 to 29. They were asked about life goals and to list what they wanted their life goals to be. Here's what the list sounded like. 65% wanted to be happy, 53% wanted to be financially stable, both good things. 48% wanted to have good physical health, great thing. 49% wanted to have good mental and emotional health, way to go. 46% wanted to be loving and to love and be confident in themselves. That's great. One of the options for life goal was being in lasting community. Do you want to know where that fell on the list? It fell last. 7% wanted lasting community. Those other things aren't bad, but those other things don't happen without community. And so we have this AI trying to meet this need of loneliness. We have a generation of people that want to be happy and whole and healthy and love themselves, but they don't care about lasting relationships. Now that's generalizing for sure. There are definitely lots of 14 to 29-year-olds who want relationships. We have a growing national concern about loneliness and how the division in our country is just adding fuel to that fire. And here's what's so interesting to me. All the stats and all the studies and all the headlines about loneliness, none of it's new. So I can toss all that information at you. We can put it on the screens. We can convince you based on actual data, logical sense that loneliness is killing us. And I promise you it won't make a difference. I just don't think we would walk out of here and do anything different. Friends, and I want you to know that none of it is new. The human ache for connection is ancient. The human ache for connection has been a part of our being for so long. I am not talking about the connection of sitting next to somebody. I am talking about the connection of being seen by somebody. There's a difference. I'm not talking about sitting next to one another. I'm not talking about doing life alongside somebody this way. I'm talking about the human ache for connection, to be seen by one another on a heart level, to be understood, for someone else to come into your world and say, God, I'm so sorry you're going through that. How can I just sit with you? Like, that's what I mean by being connected. And see, long before smartphones and social media and AI-generated spouses, like, God's people were already asking this question. They were already asking these questions, and there's more for sure, but these two questions specifically: why do I feel alone even when I'm successful? Why do I feel alone even when I'm successful? And the second question is, why does life feel empty even when I'm busy? Isn't it interesting? You would think a busy life would mean full, because you're busy, right? So why does life feel empty even when I'm busy? It doesn't make logical sense, because logical sense would say busy means full. But busy often leads to emptiness. And that's where this book in the Old Testament, it's called Ecclesiastes, that's right where it meets us. And to be pretty frank, like, if you read through the book of Ecclesiastes in the Old Testament, it's pretty depressing. It's actually real depressing. And what it is there are some scholars way back who, and if I open up my study Bible, it would say that the author of Ecclesiastes is Solomon, but a lot of modern day biblical scholars are saying that it maybe was not written by Solomon, but written by somebody that was like him and knew his story and knew from him. So maybe you care about that, maybe you don't, but just giving you some context. But what Ecclesiastes is it's a book of, and all scholars believe this, that it's a book of teaching, like wisdom, teaching some wisdom, and helping the future generations not have to deal with or not have to make the same mistakes that they made. How many parents or grandparents are in the house? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're a parent, grandparent. Raise your hand if you work with kids. You're a teacher, administrator, you work at a daycare or provider. Okay, so you know that when you try to give wisdom to the future generations and you say, like, I'm just telling you, like, don't do this, whatever, fill in the blank, you're doing it out of a heart posture of, like, don't make the same mistake I did. Please, like, the other day, Izzy saw one of my tattoos and she asked about it, and I'm not telling you the whole story, but I looked at her and I said, I hope you don't make the same mistake. Like, not about tattoos. She can get a tattoo when she's age appropriate. It's about the actual tattoo, which again, I'm gonna stop talking now because this is not in the sermon. But I was telling her, like, don't make the same mistake that I made. And you're just praying they're gonna listen. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. That's what this is. They're like the writer, the teacher of Ecclesiastes is just praying that you will listen and not have to find out for yourself. And so here we go. One of the words that's repeated in Ecclesiastes is havel. It looks like Habel, H-E-B-E-L. It's a Hebrew word, but it's actually pronounced havel. I'm probably not saying exactly right, but it sounds like a V sound. And it means vapor or breath. So think about like a cold day when you start breathing and you can see your breath, right? I heard there was a few of those again in January. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so not sorry. I loved the warm weather. Okay, the vapor and the breath, you guys are all like, oh my gosh, you're so, okay. It's like, it's right there and you can touch it and you can feel it sort of in those moments. You can see it, but then it kind of goes away. Okay, so what this word means from Hebrew is it means fleeting. Like life is fleeting, life is temporary. Okay, it almost means like It's an enigma, meaning like it's hard to figure out, maybe even contradictory. That life is very contradictory. Like we want to believe logically that if we live our life this way, like good things are going to happen, but that is not biblical. Nowhere in the Bible did God promise that your life was going to be like free of pain or free of medical diagnosis that you don't want or free of betrayal from friends. Never promised that. But there's something in our human nature that says, oh God, I wish. And so we fight for this life that is apart from God because it temporarily like makes us feel better or something. And Ecclesiastes, in its wisdom, the teacher's saying like, hold on a second, I want to just remind you. I want to take like a 30,000 foot view and I want to remind you that all of life is fleeting and so much of it is outside your control. See, summed up, the entire book is about this reality, and this is depressing, but there's a point. The entire book is about the reality that nothing in life really makes any logical sense. And it basically outlines all the ways that you and I try to find meaning and purpose apart from God. So it kind of like calls us out and says, you're trying to find purpose and meaning apart from God in this, and you're trying to find purpose and meaning in life apart from God in this. And then at the end of Ecclesiastes, it says like the only common denominator, the only equalizer of all of humankind is what? We die. That's the depressing part, depending on how you look at it, in terms of like, gosh, I think God would say, if you've lived a life for me that is full, you don't have to have regrets when it's time, you know? But the truth is, the equalizer for all of us is one day we won't be here anymore on this earth. And that's what Ecclesiastes is teaching, but it says the point of the teaching was to spare the future generations from making the same mistakes. And so let me give you an example. Ecclesiastes 4:7, it says, again, I saw something meaningless. The Hebrew word for meaningless would have been havel. Life is fleeting, like this enigma. So it says, again, I saw something meaningless under the sun. There was a man. He was all alone. He had neither son nor brother. There was no end to his toil, yet his eyes were not content with his wealth. For whom am I toiling, he asked, and why am I depriving myself of enjoyment? This too is meaningless and a miserable business. Did you catch that? Did you catch that the man that the teacher is talking about wasn't lazy? This man, he isn't unsuccessful. He's productive. He's driven. He's accomplished. But he's also what? Alone. He's alone. And isolation has quietly robbed him of joy. And so his response is, can I enjoy my life? Can I make more money? See, he has wealth, but we can assume he has no one to share it with. He has success, but he has no one to celebrate it with. He has motion, like he's busy, he's doing stuff, but there's no meaning. There's no real meaning to his life. See, isolation doesn't usually feel dramatic. You know, kind of like what I said earlier, we don't just wake up one day and just isolate ourselves. It's a slow leak, and I don't mean to like scare us, but here's what isolation actually sounds like. It sounds like efficiency. Efficiency is isolation. It feels like self-sufficiency. And the last one's kind of a dagger for all of us, myself included. Isolation feels like control. You know what control does? It isolates you. You know what the feeling of trying to control your life and all the parts of your life and all the people in your life and control the chess of life so that you can, whatever, not be seen, or you can not have to be uncomfortable, or you don't have to be honest, or there's lots of reasons that we all try to control stuff. And control is actually isolation. Control means you aren't bringing who you are, who God made you to be to the table. And so we wonder, like, what do we do with that? Ecclesiastes is drawing this example of like, okay, we can live our life successful and we can be wealthy and we can be really productive. But if we do all of that apart from God, it's saying, well, it's meaningless. It's fleeting. All that's going to go away. So what instead? In verse 9 it says, here's the answer, the wisdom. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. See, friendship multiplies our efforts. Friendship allows our life to feel a little lighter. You know? It says, verse 10, if either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity, like that word pity doesn't it makes you cringe a little. Does it? When I say it even, it's like pity's like you're like rubbing their, like, oh, you know, right? That's like pity. It says, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Pity anyone who has a hard day at work and doesn't have anyone to talk to. Pity anyone who told a lie to their teacher and they don't have anyone to confess that to be free from that sin, to make it right and have someone walk with them. Pity the couple who is struggling in their marriage and doesn't tell anybody. Pity the kid who's getting bullied and hasn't told a soul. You see, like, you and I are gonna fall. And if it's not like on a daily basis, it's probably on a weekly basis. There's gonna be something that goes awire in our life. That, God, wouldn't it be nice to get a text message from a friend to say, I'm praying for you. You want a piggyback ride? Wouldn't it be great to have like another married couple that when you get done arguing with your spouse and you're just all in your emotions and your spouse is withdrawing by himself, you can just text them and say, will you just pray for us? You don't even have to tell them the details. That's what the wisdom of Ecclesiastes is saying. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. And then says also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm, but how can one keep warm alone? A lot of times these verses are used in weddings, and this can be seen as mostly like romantic. A man and a woman lying down together, they will keep warm, and that's exciting when you're married, and we're going to talk about that in a couple weeks. My husband Kyle and I, next week we're going to talk emotional intimacy, and the week after we're going to talk about sexual intimacy. Be there, here. That means here. Be here and invite a friend. It's going to be great. But what it also means, it isn't romantic. It's practical. If you were out in Alaska in the wilderness and you were with someone else and you didn't have a sleeping bag, when night hit, you would need the warmth of each other's skin to stay alive. Seriously, I mean, I've never been there and I've never done it, but I've watched TV shows. It's survival. It's survival. Verse 12, though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. So all of a sudden we go from 2 to 3. What does that mean? It means that God, and they're talking about God in Ecclesiastes, and now we're on the other side in the hope of his son Jesus, that when friendships and when marriages and when co-workers and when neighbors, when 2 partner with a third, and Jesus becomes the center of that relationship, it's saying those 3 strands are not quickly broken. 2 people are strong, but when God is in the middle, it's strengthened and it builds resilience. This is why friendships centered on Christ, they don't just comfort us, friends, they form us. They form us. I'm going to do a quick little challenge. I don't want you to raise your hand. Let's just do a stat check really quick. How many people in your life could you call at 2 a.m. if everything fell apart? How many people could you call at 2 a.m.? And a harder question to answer is how many people could call you at 2 a.m.? How many people are you on the short list that you could call at 2 a.m.? See, two are better than one because, friends, no one wins alone. No one wins alone. And listen, life is super unpredictable. It was like a month and a half ago, and a friend here at Prairie Heights grabbed me, and it was after service, and we sat down, and I could tell in her eyes like something was not right. And having had several of these conversations, my brain already started deciding like what it was in her life. And she looked at me, very healthy person, exercises, has really good community and friends, great marriage. I mean, obviously life stuff, but like on the outside, everything's good. She goes to the doctor and she has a proactive procedure. They get the results, and she's had zero pain, zero indication of anything wrong with her. And they say, you have cancer. And a week, 2 weeks later, she has surgery. And in those 2, 3, 4 week time frame, her life flipped upside down. She's thinking nothing's wrong, and all of a sudden everything's wrong. And it puts her life into perspective. Life is so unpredictable, friends. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. This individual has a group of friends who showed up for her. There was a meal plan. I mean, she could tell you how God has shown up for her through her friends right here at Prairie Heights and her friends in other places, in her community, in her neighborhood, in the school that her kids go to, that have surrounded her. But we all have unpredictable things that happen in our life, and we need people when that happens because we're not ready. She wasn't ready for that news. She was not ready, and she needed people to look at her and say, we have faith that no matter what the result is, God is with you. We will pray on your behalf, and we will be there alongside you as you go through this. Life is filled with ups and downs, and what Ecclesiastes is teaching all of us is this, that we have to do a better job of accepting that all of life is out of our control. And I know there's a huge resistance to that. It's like, no, it's not. I can control a lot of things. And yeah, we can. But the big picture of life is that we got to get better at accepting that all of life is out of our control. And so Ecclesiastes says, get close to Jesus and get close to people and enjoy the small things of life. Enjoy a meal with people, with your friends and your family. Enjoy a sunny day. Make the most of each day. So here's your challenge for today. I want you to evaluate your friend roster. I want you to evaluate your friend roster. Here's what I want you to do is ask yourself these questions. Who tells the truth, even when it's uncomfortable? Who points me toward Jesus? Not just comfort, just tells me what I want to hear, you know? We got friends like that. Like, I have friends that if I showed them a picture of what I was going to wear on a Sunday and said, like, should I wear this? They'd be like, yeah, and I shouldn't. And I have other people who are like, no, don't wear that. I'm like, thank you. You know, we know the difference. Think about the friends who really know what's going on in your life. And now I want to flip that on its end, and I want to ask you to ask yourself, are you that kind of friend for other people? Are you the kind of friend who's going to be honest? Are you the kind of friend that's going to bring people towards Jesus? Are you the kind of friend that's going to tell people what's really going on in your life? And here's the thing, if no one comes to mind for you in your friend roster, that's simply an invitation, and that's why we get to be church family. And we've got groups here at Prairie Heights, and it's got all stages and ages, and this is not a promotion. I'm not telling you have to do this. This is not like some promotion, but I'm just telling you some are monthly, bi-monthly, all the things. But they're meant for spaces where your faith can find friends and your friends can find faith, because the other part of it is we all know people who are living apart from God. And if you are a follower of Jesus, it is our responsibility to invite other people to know Jesus. So if there's an empty seat beside you, I want to encourage you. Invite somebody that you know that doesn't know Jesus to come on this journey with you. because it matters. Your faith needs friends, and your friends need faith. That's what groups are all about. And groups aren't about adding something to your schedule, friends. It's about adding something to your life. It's about enriching your life. Groups aren't about fixing your life. They're about reminding you that no one wins alone. Absolutely no one wins alone. There's something that Brene Brown said, and she talks about this idea of belonging, not just fitting in. And our hope is that you would learn to break down the walls and belong here, not fit in. The goal is not that you come and you do what everybody else does. We want all of us to feel like we belong. And one of the things Brene Brown, she's a speaker, author, she's a genius researcher on all things vulnerability. And she said, here's what vulnerability looks like in friendship. In friendship, vulnerability is like telling someone your struggles. It's like owning your weaknesses. It's admitting when you blew it. And it's inviting real help. That's what we want to create here in this church family, in this community, and we want that to extend out into the very lives that we have outside of here. And we want that for you. Because here's the truth, no one wins alone. No one wins alone. I was sitting here last Sunday in that section and just coming back and being able to just receive just the goodness of music and message and seeing friends. And I was sitting next to really good friends. In front of me were some friends that I've been doing life with for a long time. I didn't know it, but there were friends sitting behind me. I didn't know that till after service. And I can't quite say it in words yet, but if anything, the reset, and Kyle and I will tell you more about it in the coming weeks, but it reminded me of how important relationships and friendships are to me. I was getting emotional sitting there, and I had to ask myself, why am I becoming so emotional? One, I miss you. I don't miss the building or the seat or the whatever. I care what it looks like, but kind of not really. Like, I miss you. You know, I miss meeting new people, and I miss seeing friends. And the other part, as I looked at my friends, I was like, I want more time with them. I was like, I want to spend more time than just sitting next to each other on a Sunday. Like, I want to go over to your house and spend time with you and be in life with you and me be in life with them. Like, I want more time with my friends. And you might not be in that place, but I want you to hear from my heart like God wants that for you, because God came. God created all of us, and then our life, our relationship with God was separated from him early on in Genesis in the garden. And then what did he send to rescue us? He didn't send us more information. He sent us a relationship with his only son, Jesus. That's a pretty powerful truth. He wanted us to have a relationship that would change our lives. And so let's turn up the temperature together as a church family in our relationship with Jesus, and let's turn up the temperature and model what it looks like to be in friendship with one another, because that's what we're called to do. And so I'm going to enter into a prayer time. Go ahead and close your eyes. And if you're someone who hasn't received Jesus or made him the leader of your life, I want to invite you to do that. And others of you, if you've made that decision, I'm just going to invite you to wrestle with God a little bit on how can you increase your relationship with him and increase your relationship with others. So Lord, I pray first and foremost for anyone here today that wants to receive you, that believes that you came here as fully God and fully human, that you died a death that we deserve, and that you were victorious over sin and death. And God, if there's any human heart that wants to say yes to you for the first time and have you be the leader of their life, right now, would they just say yes in their heart? And it's not about the yes in their heart, it's about them entering into life with you and saying, Jesus, I want to be in relationship with you. And God, for the rest of us who have said that before, God, would you help increase our passion to know you? And would you help increase our awareness for friends in our life? Would you help us to evaluate our friends and how good of a friend we are? And God, would you help us to be in community more often? We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.